One night in London in 1995. Two women, a boy, and a girl arrived at the hotel. Drenched in the rain, one of the women, Eleanor Young, approaches the reception desk for a reservation at the Lancaster Suites. The receptionist replies sarcastically that this hotel is a private hotel. Later, the manager steps in and says that the hotel was fully booked. He suggests that they look for a hotel in Chinatown instead and tells them to leave the hotel immediately. In the middle of the rain, Eleanor calls her husband from the payphone outside the hotel. Not long after, they go back into the hotel, but they were greeted by the hotel owner this time. The hotel owner announces to employees that Eleanor is the hotel's new owner. The hotel manager and the reception staff are left dumbfounded after hearing this. Eleanor's son couldn't help but smiles at the employees at the hotel. Several years later, in 2018 in New York, a woman plays poker with a man and manages to win the bet. As it turned out, the poker game is a learning session in class because Rachel Chu is a professor in the Faculty of Economics at New York University. After class, Rachel spends time with her boyfriend, Nicholas Young, or Nick, at a cafe. Nick asks Rachel to come with him to attend his best friend Colin and Araminta's wedding in Singapore. At the same time, he wants to introduce Rachel to his family since they have been in a relationship for a year. Rachel hesitates at Nick's invitation but finally agrees to come with him. Suddenly in the corner of the cafe, a young Chinese woman watching and eavesdropping on their conversation walks past them while holding her handphone. Apparently, the woman takes a photo of Nick and Rachel and spreads it to Radio 1 Asia chat rooms that contain many young people from the upper class. The chat room members immediately look for Rachel's identity on social media and couldn't believe that she is not coming from a rich family. Information about Nick's closeness to Rachel quickly spread on social media and it reaches Singapore in seconds. In Singapore, Eleanor is having a meeting with some friends for Bible study. Her friends ask if she knows that Nick is dating a woman from nowhere named Rachel Chu. They even think that Nick will take Rachel to Singapore to get married. Eleanor simply replies that Nick has changed girlfriends so often that she doesn't know who the woman he is currently dating with. Back in New York, Rachel is buying clothes at a boutique accompanied by her mother for the traveling preparation. While picking out clothes, Rachel tells her mother that this is the first time she will meet Nick's family even though Nick never speaks about his family before. Rachel's mother thinks Nick is a good-natured boy because he works as a history lecturer at New York University to support his possibly poor family. However, they both don't know that Nick comes from a very rich Asian family. Rachel shares her concern with her mother that she might not be liked by Nick's family because she is of mixed Chinese-American descent. Then, Rachel asks her mother for advice on which clothes to wear to meet Nick's family. Her mother chose a red dress that symbolizes prosperity. On the day of Nick and Rachel's departure to Singapore, Rachel prepares supplies to be brought on a 24-hour air trip and is shocked when two airline officers approach them. They are taken to the waiting room for first-class passengers, which added to Rachel's confusion. As they sit on the plane, Rachel asks Nick if they could afford first-class tickets. Nick explains that his family owns the airline so they can board the airline for free. Realizing the oddity, Rachel finally asks about Nick's family. With a smile, Nick explains that even though he came from a rich family, it is his family's money, not his. After that, Nick tells her about some of his cousins, such as Alistair Cheng, who works in the film industry. Next, Eddie Cheng works in finance in Hong Kong. Then, a female cousin named Astrid is closest to Nick because of her humble nature. Eventually, they arrive in Singapore, where they are greeted by Colin and Araminta. The four of them start exploring the delicious street food in Singapore. Rachel surprises seeing his boyfriend is friendly to many people in the food court. The four of them talk happily while enjoying Asian foods. While talking about their wedding plans, Rachel and Nick are invited to attend the release of their bachelors before the wedding on the Indonesian island of Sumatra. After that, Rachel visits her college friend, Peek Lin. She is so impressed with Peek Lin's luxurious house. There, she is invited to eat with Peek Lin's family. Rachel says that she is invited by her boyfriend to attend a friend's wedding. Peek Lin's mother is curious by asking what Rachel's boyfriend's last name is. When Rachel mentions Nick Young's name, the entire Peek Lin family is shocked. They reveal that the Young family is the richest conglomerate family in Singapore. Now, Rachel's turn to be dumbfounded. She doesn't know what to do because she will be invited to a family dinner at Nick's grandmother's house tonight. Peek Lin then takes the initiative to lend Rachel her luxurious dress. She even drives and accompanies Rachel to Nick's family home. When they enter the main gate, Nick immediately greets them in a white suit like a prince. Upon entering the house, Nick invites Rachel to meet his mother, who seems busy checking the food in the kitchen. Rachel immediately hugs her, surprising her because it is considered rude in Chinese culture, especially since it's the first time they meet. Eleanor seems concerned when Rachel talks about her family, where her father died, and her mother was not going to college. Eleanor praises Rachel as an independent woman but gently criticizes her open-minded mother for educating Rachel and using very American fashion. After the conversation, Rachel begins to feel awkward. Nick's family is so large that Rachel mistakenly thinks that an old woman was Amma, Nick's grandmother, who is Nick's maid. Her behavior becomes the subject of gossip throughout Nick's family. Rachel, who is getting nervous and flustered, accidentally spills red wine on Nick's shirt, making Nick have to change his clothes. After that, Rachel meets Astrid, Michael, and Eddie. Then, Astrid sits in a chair and accidentally reads a message from her husband's mistress. Back to Nick changing his shirt in his room. His mother comes to help Nick choose clothes to wear. Eleanor says she is happy to meet Rachel. Nick agrees, his mother must be happy because it is the first time he brings his girlfriend into the house. Plus, Rachel is a woman of Chinese descent who works as a professor. But Eleanor corrects Nick's statement. She is dissatisfied that Rachel is not a fully Chinese girl. Later, Rachel finally meets Amma, who greeted her very well. Amma even invites her to come back because she wants to teach Rachel how to make Nick's favorite dumplings. Finally, the small party at Nick's family is over, changing to a bachelor and girl release party held by Colin and Araminta. At a bachelor party, very loud music and sexy dressed women are presented, which makes Nick and Colin uncomfortable. They run away from the party and chat together on Swamp Island. There, Nick shows off the ring he will give Rachel when he proposes to her. Hearing that, Colin congratulates him happily while warning him about how his family will treat Rachel in the future. On the other hand, Araminta Girls' release party is located on Samsara Island, where Araminta's mother rents the entire island specifically for the party. While Rachel is at the spa, one of Araminta's friends, Amanda, compliments her on her courage to meet Nick's family. She warns Rachel to be self-conscious because of Rachel's unequal status with Nick's family. Amanda also admits that she used to be Nick's ex-girlfriend. Rachel immediately leaves her. While walking to her room, Rachel bumps into Astrid, and the two of them head for Rachel's room. Arriving at the room, they are surprised to find a room full of scribbles of insults. Not only that, on her bed there is a fish full of blood. Astrid tries to comfort Rachel and even helps her bury the fish on the beach. While helping Rachel, Astrid talks about her broken home because her husband, Michael, has an affair. Since then, Rachel and Astrid have become close. One day, Rachel is invited back to the young family's house. Accompanied by Nick and Astrid, Rachel learns from Eleanor how to make dumplings as a tradition. At that moment, Rachel compliments the ring on Eleanor's finger. Then, she asks how Eleanor and Nick's father met. Eleanor tells her that they both met when studying law at Cambridge. However, she decided to drop out of college because she was more concerned with family. Then, Eleanor subtly quips Rachel who pursues her dreams like in Western culture, which is very different from an Eastern culture where people are more concerned with family. Eleanor also explained that the ring was a special ring made by Nick's father because Amma had been against their marriage. According to Amma, Eleanor is considered inappropriate for Nick's father because she comes from an ordinary family that is different from Nick's father. It even took her years to convince Amma, and sometimes she still feels like she doesn't deserve it. Later, Eleanor meets Rachel on the stairs and touches Rachel's cheek at the end of the conversation, saying that she will never be worthy of Nick either. Rachel is completely shocked by her words. The next day, Rachel meets Peek Lynn and talks about the problems between her and Eleanor. Peek Lynn, assisted by her cousin, is ready to help Rachel fight Eleanor. They dress Rachel as beautifully as possible for Colin and Araminta's wedding. Soon after, Colin and Araminta's wedding day arrives. Rachel comes in a very beautiful dress. Although people are amazed at Rachel's appearance, her efforts are not easily accepted by Eleanor. Meanwhile, Astrid tells Michael that she has found out about his affair. An argument ensues, making Michael decide to step down halfway and refuses to attend Colin and Araminta's wedding. Astrid arrives at the wedding reception building accompanied by Amma. Inside the wedding reception building, Rachel tries to hold on despite the constant insults that come her way. She must relent not to sit with the Youngs because Eleanor says the seats are full. While behind the altar, Nick tells Colin that Rachel is a strong woman who doesn't give up easily. Nick sees Rachel sitting next to Princess Diamond in the front row of the bench, even though Princess Diamond is notoriously difficult to get people to sit beside her. In fact, Rachel is intimately chatting with the Diamond Princess. The wedding ceremony finally gets underway, and Araminta walks toward the altar. Rachel's eyes filled with tears as she watches Nick say the words "I love you" to her from a distance. The wedding ceremony is followed by a festive feast. That night, in the middle of dancing with Nick, they are called to meet Eleanor and Amma. Eleanor accuses Rachel of being a scheming fake woman. She receives information from the detective she hired that Rachel is the child of her mother's affair after leaving her husband and fleeing to America. Rachel is so shocked by this fact that she only finds out from someone else. Then, after she says that she doesn't want to be part of the Young family either, she immediately leaves the party in tears. On the other hand, Eleanor asks Nick to end his relationship with Rachel for fear that the scandal will become public. On that day, Rachel decides to stay at Peek Lynn's house and refuses to meet Nick. Then, Nick contacts Rachel's mother to come to Singapore to cheer her up. Rachel's mother comes to see her at Peek Lynn's house, where she tells the true story of her ex-husband. Her ex-husband used to be an abusive person. In the end, she became pregnant by a friend who tried to comfort her at the time. Knowing she was pregnant and afraid for her husband, she fled to America and raised Rachel there. After being persuaded by her mother, Rachel agrees to meet Nick, apologizing for his family's treatment. In the park, he proposes to Rachel with a beautiful diamond ring. Nick is even willing to give up everything he has in order to marry Rachel. However, Rachel only responds in silence. The next day, Rachel asks Eleanor to meet her at a mahjong playground. There, Rachel asks why she doesn't deserve Nick. Is it because she comes from a poor family? But Eleanor denies that. She just doesn't like Rachel because of her non-Chinese ancestry. Then, Rachel tells Eleanor about how she turned down Nick's proposal because she doesn't want the relationship between Nick and his family to be ruined. Furthermore, Rachel advises that if someday, Nick could marry a girl that Eleanor deems worthy, she wants her to remember one thing: it was she who had won the battle and chose to step down for the good of all. After saying that, Rachel opens the mahjong piece that she has won earlier. However, she deliberately gives one piece to Eleanor so that Eleanor wins the game of mahjong. With the greatness of her heart, Rachel leaves the place with her mother. Eleanor is silent as she stares intently at them. Meanwhile, Astrid agrees to divorce her husband. Then she said that Michael doesn't need to pack because she and the kids will leave. Finally, Rachel boards an economy class flight back to New York with her mother at the end of the film. But on the plane, she is intercepted by Nick, who comes to propose to her using his mother's ring, indicating that they have both been blessed. Rachel accepts Nick's proposal, and a very lively engagement party is held by Nick's family in Singapore, attended by the entire Young family. During the engagement party, Rachel exchanged glances with Eleanor, who smiled slightly from a distance. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like and comment to help the channel out. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.